This the main event, man. We got number 9, Islam Makhachev, the Khabib prodigy. You know what I mean? This is a dude who is supposed to be the one of the next, you know. I guess, is it the Nurmagomedov legacy? Is it the
Yeah,
lineage? Even though he got a different
yeah,
last
he's a
name.
cousin.
Cousin. Okay, there you go. So yeah, this is basically, let's take that bloodline, that Dagestani bloodline, and make another champion. You know what I'm saying? That was Habib. I forget his father's name. I can't pronounce it off the top of my head, but he had said that there was a quote from him saying that basically Habib isn't as good as Islam. Like Islam's potential is much higher than what Habib's was, and that basically Habib needs to retire so that Islam could then come up, be the champion, and I'll be basically one of the greatest coaches ever, because it'll just be one champion after the next, you know. And he's got a tall task ahead of him in Thiago Moises, man. However, let's look at this betting line. Islam Makhachev. It's actually moved. Folks, once again, reminder, I know I did this super late, but these are the opening week lines, so they are much different right now as we're recording this on July 15th, man. Islam Makhachev is a minus 575 favorite against Thiago Moises, the younger Moises, the Brazilian, you know, submission expert in Moises. However, it's going to be a tall task on both of these fighters, man. And I got to say this off of the bat. I'm going to start off with Thiago Moises, AJ. If you remember his UFC debut, which was not that long ago, it was back in like 2018 or something like that, right? He fought Beneil Dariush, you know, Benny Dariush, the one who we know is about to sit here, and he's right here in this lightweight title mix too, man. He could more or less, if we could see a Islam Makhachev versus a Beneil Dariush for a championship, you know, as far as I'm concerned. However, if you saw that fight, you saw that Thiago Moises has a very, very tough time. And this was his UFC debut, so I'll you know, that's a caveat. He has a very tough time against these pressure fighters who are going to clinch him up. Basically do what Dustin Poirier just did to Conor McGregor in their third fight, where you just get him against the cage, get him in a compromised spot, ground and pound, stay on top of him. Yeah, Moises got destroyed, man. It was a 3-round fight, and he lost 30-26 times 2 and won 30-25. Let me ask you real quick before we really break this thing down, AJ. When have you heard of someone losing 30-25 in a 3-round fight? Like, when have you heard that?
I don't even know if that's like
That's like
what's
3
that
10
8? Is
8s
that
or
is that a
something.
10-7?
Something crazy, but basically that's what I'm saying. That's crazy, right?
Yes, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, I don't know how he did that. Yeah, I didn't actually watch that fight one back, but I just watched the last ones because I'm a little recency bias on this. I like to see what they've done recently, but it's crazy. I've never even heard of that score before. So yeah, I don't know, man.
So I'm just going to say, listen, folks, I think that this is going to be a repeat of that fight, personally, man. Islam Makhachev, man, is very patient. He has a great use of his feints, man, and his takedowns are unpredictable. Sometimes he doesn't even set him up with strikes, man. They look like they're blind, but they're not, because he's feinting you and then immediately jumping down at your legs, man. He does it so quickly, so without a tell, man. It's nasty, man. Like, this dude is really high level, man. He's a wet blanket when he gets on top of his opponents, and what we just saw him do in his last fight against Drew Dober was so impressive, man, because this is a dude, AJ, and this is one of the things that sometimes we like it and sometimes we don't, but I like it in this case. Position over submission. That is what Makhachev is to me. However, if that submission comes about, just like with Drew Dober, I think it was in the first round, he didn't actually pull it off, but Drew Dober, he got on top of him, and as soon as that arm showed itself, snatched it, armbar, immediately. Like, it was just like that. Like, it's so quick. It's so crazy, man. How do you see this fight playing out, AJ? You know, Thiago Moises, he's talking a big game. He's saying that Khabib is better than Islam, obviously. I mean, this dude, you know, but like, obviously, right? They're at different stages of their career. But I don't think that he's given the respect that Islam probably deserves, man. Nobody wants to fight this guy. So what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think everybody's ducking this dude. And Islam Makhachev is for real, bro. Like, literally for real. We saw him absolutely put it to Drew Dober. And I think why I don't mind it as much in this one, where, you know, it's pretty out there, that I like the striking a little bit more than I like the grappling and seeing and watching fights anyway. I don't mind it as much with Makhachev because he stays busy. He's not just laying on top of you. Sure, he's a wet blanket, but he's a wet blanket that's going to try to put a hole in your face, lock your legs up, and just put it to you. And then he's also really good at grappling. He's really good at submissions. We saw it, like you were saying, with the Drew Dober fight. The second it was that arm was presented, snatch it up right away. Now Dober was able to roll out and keep going, but it just ended up being better for Islam Makhachev. Now, that being said, I don't think they're giving Thiago Moises the respect that he deserves, man. I do think he has the talent or at least the potential to shut down Makhachev. Now, I said that last time with Drew Dober, and I had to eat some crow on that one. So I'm not really going as far invested in this one as I did last time. But I do think that Thiago Moises reminds me of a younger RDA. You know, a younger Rafael dos Anjos. And it's a very scary fighter. You know, very good on the ground. gets a little bit in love with his hand, so he can fall into some danger. But we'll see how that goes. Personally, man, I think Makhachev's going to just put on full pressure the whole way, which is going to, that's his MO. He's going to, from the jump, be on the front foot, really hurt Thiago Moises and going for the ground game, going for the submission, going for the ground and pound. However it plays out on the ground, that's up to those boys. But me, a little bit, I got this little inkling of a feeling that Thiago Moises, he's going to come in with some heavy knees. He's going to come with knees down the middle, front kicks. We're going to see something kind of interesting. There's the potential for an upset here, but I don't know if I'm banking onto that yet. What do you think, Derek? How's this one playing out?
Well, first, man, at plus 425, you better throw just a little bit of money on that, man. Like, that's, come on. Like I said, there's no such thing as a lock in this sport, man. And Moises, he has the tools to be able to get the job done. But this is what it comes down to, man. I love Moises because his BJJ is so high level that he gets to showcase his Muay Thai and his kickboxing. You know what I mean? Like, he gets to really show that off because he's not afraid. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid of getting put on his back. However, I think he should be against Islam, man, because it's not like these other dudes, bro. Like I said, when Benil Dariush was able to do it to you, imagine what Islam can do. Now, Benny Dariush is on a different level of his own, man. This dude is a complete savage, but Benny Dariush is also a Muay Thai BJJ guy, as Islam isn't really the BJJ guy, man. He's the Sambo guy, He's one thing I really like about Islam is that he can control his opponent's head, right? Their upper body while manipulating his lower body to transition and pass guard, right? He's super strong, man. That's one of the most underrated things. You saw the way he was able to hold down Drew Dober. That's just indicative. It's like Drew Dober is a specimen. That dude is an athlete, man. So to see that was very, very telling, man. And I just think Moises, he's going to have to throw everything that he's got. This is the one big thing, AJ, that I want your take on. Islam Makhachev has never gone 5 rounds in his entire career, man. He is 19-1, 8-1 in the UFC, never gone 5 rounds. And we did see he was still fresh after 3 rounds when he fought Arman Sarukian, who gave him probably the toughest test to date. But Thiago Moises got some experience, man. The man has gone 5 rounds 3 times in his career before. He's a former champion in a regional scene. I believe he was like an LFA champion or something like that. And like I said, man, I think that's going to be the one caveat that we have to really think about. Can Islam Makhachev put on that pace for 5 whole rounds? We've seen him do it 3 rounds a bunch, man, but 5 rounds is a different beast. You hear people say, oh, man, they're only paying me like $25,000 more to fight 5 rounds. Yeah, no thanks. I'd rather just fight 3. So it goes to show $25,000 is a lot of money, bro. To turn that down over an extra, 10 minutes? It's telling, and it goes to show how grueling that 5-minute round pace is, man. So do you think he can keep it up for 5 rounds, man? What's your inclination? What is, just your thought experiment?
I actually do think Islam can keep it up for 5 rounds. He's fighting at 8K. They're working hard. They're grinding it out there. I definitely think he can. I think he's going to have to, man. I definitely think, unless something crazy happens, he's able to put Moises away. I think Moises has the experience and the game enough to actually stay alive a little bit longer. Now, like I said before, I said that with the Drew Dober fight. And to add to your point, Makhachev did this crazy thing where he was able to keep the top body of Drew Dober pinned down while passing guard and getting literally into full mount. It was crazy. Well, literally shoulders were touching shoulders. It was insane. The flexibility is insane. And I think Makhachev, he's got the hype train. He's got the hype train for a reason. He's doing really, really well. DC says he's the next Khabib. We're going to see what goes on with that. But personally, I do think he can keep it up. I mean, if the hype train is that high and they're saying it, over and over again in every single fight, he's continuing to prove it. I think he's going to have to put some serious work in the gym and then be able to maintain that kind of fight style, fight pressure for 5 rounds. And being out of a big enough gym like AKA, I think it's going to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, man. I just think you got to think about this, man. Thiago Moises has a 63% career takedown defense, or in the UFC, I should say instead, not career. If he has that level of defense in terms of the takedowns against just like regular kind of folks, like we're talking about the Alexander Hernandez's, Bobby Green, Michael Johnson, Damir Ismagulov, Kurt Holobaugh. Kurt Holobaugh is big name, and Damir Ismagulov clearly is as well. But what do you think Islam is going to do to this man? You know what I'm saying? I'm not even trying to be biased in the sense of like this hype train of Islam, but this is one of those trains I think where it actually matches up to the skill of this dude, man. This dude is no joke. Once again, this is kind of like the Ryan Hall situation, and that's not what we want to see, where nobody wants to fight Ryan Hall, and then he goes out and he gets knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Huge win right there. Obviously, we didn't recap that one, but major win, because who's to say that doesn't happen in this one? So I'm with you, man. Thiago Moises definitely has an opportunity to get a job done, and he was like, this puts me in title contention if I get a win here, but this puts me in the top 5. I don't know how when Islam is number 9. However, he's that high regarded. So I guess that's what he's saying. Listen, man, I guess we just got to give our picks in this one, right? How does it go down? Why? And then I want you to tell me after, what is the implication if one of these fighters wins? What is going to come next? What do you think?
Man, this one for me is all about that same thing we're talking about with that hype train. Do I go against a hype train? Because that's the sport of mixed martial arts can deliver that kind of stuff. That's the whole like big thing about this is you never know. Nothing's a lock in this game. Even though that hype train has been delivering. I went against him in the Drew Dober fight, got proved a little wrong. So I'm going Makhachev by decision. I do think he's going to be able to pull it out 5 rounds. And like I said before, Moises has the potential for that upset. So you better put some money on that plus 425 underdog because it's going to be a lot harder, I think, than everyone's leading on. I think Makhachev is kind of in store for something he hasn't really seen yet, but I still do think he pulls out the victory of decision. And as far as implication, man, if Makhachev gets the win on this one, I do think it's rocketing him right to the top. We might even see, like you're saying before, him versus Benny Dariush, which I would love to see. That'd be an interesting fight right there. I don't know necessarily if he goes top 5, because in 155-pound division, you got some killers up there. But I do think he's going to be, top 7, top 6, right under that cusp, fighting someone very high talented. Now, if Thiago Moises gets the win, I personally don't think he's going to get shot up that high. Right now, we have him as number 14, and I think he might break top 10. I don't think it's going to be that big of a jump, even though the Makhachev win would be huge. It'd be a massive win, a massive taking of somebody's steam. But I think a lot of people might think it's a little bit of a fluke, unless he goes out and absolutely starches this dude, puts it to him for 2 rounds and then absolutely dominates and bullies Makhachev. I don't really see that happening, but if that does happen, then we'll see a bigger jump up. But I really don't think Thiago Moises is going to have that big of a leap as Makhachev does. What do you think? What's your pick and why?
Well, I'm going Islam Makhachev on this one, man. I actually think he's going to get it done relatively early, man. I'm going to go 3 rounds on this one. I don't think this one enters the championship rounds. I think he's going to put a pace on Moises, and then he's going to find a submission. Personally, I think it's going to be that much more impressive because I think that he has the skill to submit the dude who's the highest of high BJJ. Obviously, not know Rodolfo Vieira, but this dude is legit, man. This is literally his game. That's his bread and butter is the submissions, man. So I'm going Islam Makhachev, round 3 submission. We could see an arm triangle on that one, man. Like literally get that mount, get him pressed down to the back and just, put him to bed like that. However, if we're talking about implications, man, I don't think that if he wins in even a very definitive fashion, I don't think he gets a title shot next. We can't forget Charles Oliveira, right? He needs to fight Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 4 literally is a thing. Dana White said it himself. So that kind of muddies things up, complicates it. And the last thing anybody would ever want is a Conor McGregor trying to come and fight an Islam Makhachev. Like, we're not doing that, man. That's a mauling. That is Khabib 2.0, right? However, I do think an interesting matchup that we could see if there's a very definitive win is an Islam Makhachev versus Michael Chandler. Winner of that gets another shot at the title, man. And I honestly think that is a possibility, an implication here. So I think that, once again, I agree with you. Islam, a big win on his end will definitely put him in a higher spot than a big win on Moises' win. But Moises is young, man. Dude's only 26, so he still has a lot of time. Let's not forget that. Islam Makhachev, I think he's like 30 or something like that, man. Dude's a little bit older. But that's basically my pick, man. I think that is going to be very, very impressive. But we do also know from watching Makhachev fight, he's not the most exciting fighter in the world to watch. You know what I mean? Khabib wasn't either. He was just very dominant, and that's what we respect and applaud about these people, man. So that's the picks, man. Listen, this is a very fun card, man, and I can't wait to actually see it and see how things play out, man. I got a lot riding on this. I need a big streak on this one, man, to kind of get me back. Boost up my percentage up just a little bit, man. But